Hello and welcome to the Build with Bear Workshop. My name is Pat Bear. I'm here to build a model kit and to hang out with all of you. And I'm going to start by throwing the Barricade Lego to the site, the Tier 2 Blue emote in chat. If you are currently a subscriber, reply with those emotes. If you are not yet a subscriber, you can say hi or use other people's emotes. Or if you feel like being a lurker, you can just go ahead and lurk. It's a Monday and it appears to be a bit of a chill evening. Hopefully some folks will decide to join us. If not, that's okay. But, you know, it's a Monday, working on a model kit with the longest name, I think. I think this is the longest name. The Star Build Strike Gundam Plavsky Wing HG. Aristophan is here. Hello, hello, Aristophan. Happy to have you here. But yeah, I think the Star Build Strike Gundam Plavsky Wing High Grade is probably the longest name of a model kit that I've worked on, at least in quite some time. There might be longer. And working on that, I've got the head and the chest and one arm done on that kit. You may remember from Saturday's stream that it was I had a lot of trouble with one little piece of the head, and that trouble has been concluded. And then we finished a whole arm, so we're going to start another arm to other arm in a bit, which will require some stickers, which aren't too difficult, and will hopefully all work out and look pretty rad. We'll talk about some video game stuff, some anime in the second hour, manga in the second hour, because it is, of course, Manga Monday. And kind of like, what's up, you know? We'll kind of just see what's going on. I am expecting kind of a chill evening, which is okay. Yeah, let me just, let's go to the overhead. Boom, there's the overhead. This is what we're working with and what we're working on so far, and we're going to start by working on the other shoulder. We're going to work on the other shoulder down to the hand. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Hey, hey, Lord Crashington. We're currently at 45 subscribers. The goal is to get to 50. I stopped talking about my goal of 50 when we hit 50. If you would like to become a subscriber, you could. If you want to gift a sub, you could do that. If you don't, you don't have to. Okay, so Twitter. We haven't done a Twitter update in a while because there hasn't been anything to say. There's a little bit of a Twitter update. He has said this in the past. We should not take it as fully the plans, but Elon Musk did reply to a Twitter Blue user and said, because this person was like, the usual thing of somebody who is garbage. A thing that garbage people say is, it's annoying I have to switch accounts to view public posts by people that block me. And then they replied to themselves. Now this tweet got some views, got some likes, got some replies. They're a Twitter Blue person, so, you know, they didn't really get, like, their spot didn't get blown up per se, right? A bunch of people didn't go, well, there doesn't have to be a good reason. They don't owe you anything. Public post does not mean you're guaranteed a right. You just don't have to. Nobody has to look at, you know, you don't get to decide that. It's not on you. It's on the other person. And then Christopher Stanley, this person says, can someone ask Not She Networks why they blocked me? To which Elon Musk replied, these public block lists are annoying. It achieves nothing to block public posts. Time to get rid of the block in favor of stronger mute. Which, again, the mute and block are different functions, right? Mute means I want nothing. Look, mute means I am just, for whatever reason, it's a soft block. I just don't want you seeing what's going on with me. Honestly, actually, the soft block is when you block someone and then unblock them because then they unfollow you and they don't know it that happened. That is the soft block. But the actual block, you know, the difference between that and the actual block is that you can just, like, make your own decision that you do not want that person to go after you. He's just mad that he and advertisers get blocked a lot. I mean, look, he doesn't actually care that advertisers get blocked because he doesn't actually want this business to succeed. Because if he did, he would make other choices. So he doesn't care that you can block advertisers. He does care that people can block him. Because again, the reason why he wants mute is he doesn't care what you do. He doesn't care if you read him or not. He does care that anyone can make the choice. Any person can make the choice that that he can't get access to them. Who are you talking about again? Oh, Elon Musk, owner of Twitter. Hello, sub. Elon Musk, owner of Twitter, has said that he wants to get rid of the block because it is a cutoff of information, right? Because he's saying stuff like public posts, right? Public posts is what a lot of people say. That's their thing. Is like, well, you put it in public. How come I can't look at it? And it's like, well, a lot of people consider Twitter and social media in general is like dining in a restaurant, right? You can dine in a restaurant all you like, right? And if you say something in a restaurant, other people can hear you, for sure. But not everybody hears you because a lot of people are just doing their own damn thing. They're not listening to you. They're not engaging with you. They're just sharing this space with you. They're in a restaurant at the same time you're in a restaurant. And you may overhear someone, and they may overhear you. And somebody may stop by your table and go like, "That you know what? That your puppy is adorable." And you go, "Thank you." And sometimes you're having a deep conversation with someone about like structural insecurities. And someone will walk by and be like, "Well, you know, blah, blah, blah." And you're like, "I didn't know what I asked you. We don't know you. I don't know why you jumped into this." And some people will go, "You're right. Sorry about that." And other people will go, "Well, you're talking and I could hear you. And there's no reason I shouldn't tell you what I think about this." It's like, oh, well, no, but there is. And that is the argument, right? Like, muting is turning the volume down on someone, but it doesn't relieve them of access. It just hides the reality. It's putting someone's head in the sand. But a block says, no, we're done here. A block is a finality. And Elon Musk, of course, hates that because this is his website and he should have control. And it's somebody saying like, actually, no, thanks. Nah, I'm good. Now, if this person now here's the thing, right? He's bringing up block lists, right? Which is a separate, smaller little thing where the block list is saying like, hey, here are people that suck ass and you're better off without them, right? And that might be the case for this, that this person does that. But I'm going to say this. If you are a person that finds out that someone is blocking you and your first reaction is to say, can someone ask them why they blocked me? It's because you asked shit like that. Like, that's the clue. And I know that there were some replies to this person, and I hope that some of the replies to this person, because I know it won't be all, but I hope at least some of the replies to this person were people saying, it's because you say shit like that. Yes, a free speech abolitionist for people that agree with me. Yeah, it's that thing, right? Because nobody wants it. Because again, and I'm saying this, and y'all know this stuff, right? Y'all know this, that free speech advocates often, not all of them, but the ones that really, really bang the drum about being free speech, proponents, often are not talking about free speech. They're not talking about protected speech. They're talking about it should be illegal for people not to listen to them because they don't support other people's free speech. They don't support the free speech of people that disagree with them on principle. They don't care Often they are the same people that are in favor of the rules in public life not applying to schools, and schools being able to, just go over that and not, and void people's First Amendments, because they don't care about protecting speech or preventing the government from getting involved in those things. They just want to make it so that people have to listen to them, because at some point in their life, some of the people around them decided they weren't worth listening to. And it eats them alive because they're great and people should get on board with them. And it shouldn't be the case where people would do that and they're wrong. So it's the thing, right? Yes, it is. It's been that thing. It's the same way. A lot of that stuff, like, him getting mad at Hard Drive is because Hard Drive made fun of him. The Onion made fun of him because he wants to be liked by people. And he eventually realized he had to have sycophants for that to work, because it didn't work otherwise. So he started finding people to be interested in him. And then, of course, hey, Lashbrook. And then, of course, a big issue with that is that he jokingly wanted to buy a website mainly because one of his daughters made fun of him on it and other people made fun of him on it. So he was like, I'll show you. And then he didn't show us. He just bought a bad website that he now owns and made worse. It ain't great. It's tough because, look, here's the real thing. The thing I wanted to say about this is, I know that some people think that by criticizing the choices that Elon Musk has made, that means that I am saying that Twitter was good before he took over, which is not the case. Twitter was a bad website that he made worse. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's demonstrably made this thing in a worse position. And a lot of that is because of the way he bought it, where the company that was never doing well financially took on a lot of debt so that he could buy it, because that is unfortunately how businesses get sold and properties get sold, is under this weird thing where they accept a lot of debt and the person doesn't use the money they have access to. They basically just bankrupt the thing they're purchasing. And it's just, because that's the thing, right? He didn't spend $44 billion. He spent some money. He basically bankrupted the thing that he purchased because they take on the debt of that. And then he, of course, stopped paying people for certain things, laid off a lot of people, said that people that, went back on his word about severance for lots of things, demanded people go back to the office in countries where there was no office, because there were some people in the UK that worked for that company for years before he was there, that just worked from home because it's cheaper. And he might know that. He also might not know that, but it was clear that he didn't care one way or the other about it. So the thing is, he's not smart enough for that, though. Like, the real thing is, right-wing stuff shows up in your feed because he fired all the people that were removing it, and not a lot of people were removing it, because there are countries where that stuff doesn't show up. There are countries where that doesn't show up because by law it can't. So those people have to keep their jobs. But he got rid of the people that were doing it for other people. Because it was like, oh, we're going to get rid of that and we're going to replace it with this thing. And now he's made it so community notes don't show up on his posts and just get stuck because community notes were being used against him. But it's a thing of like, it is a propaganda machine, but he doesn't use it like one. He just doesn't care what is said because when you look at who is still actually getting paid, when you look at who's actually benefiting from Twitter, vis-a-vis the payment program, it's just provocateurs, right? It's just scam artists. So the thing Twitter has to do under his regime for it to make sense to continue to be a business is that it has to bring in ad revenue, which it never really will. And it also needs to keep people looking at Twitter, which it has been unbelievably terrible at. And more people leave the site for a variety of reasons. The other day, I had somebody I know was just like, the thing where on my phone, it asks me, am I sure that I want to block an ad? Is enough. That's it for me. I'm done with that. Because to them, one of the things that was keeping them around is they really enjoyed blocking every ad that came their way. They enjoyed that. That was a thing they liked to do on Twitter, was block the ads. And now they don't get to block the ads anymore. And so they are now done. But yeah, people are leaving it. And the thing is, statistically, they're not going anywhere else except for Threads. But you can't trust Threads because Threads is so integrated with Instagram and Facebook that the numbers don't quite add up properly for Threads. Brands love it. Brands love Threads. But people seem to be joining it and then not doing anything with it. Because they test the water, right? That's what people end up doing. They go to some sites, they try some stuff out, they see if there's another social media platform that works for them. The unfortunate answer right now is it seems to be that it's all of them, because Blue Sky is the closest Twitter replacement because they're trying to be a Twitter replacement, but it doesn't really have the reach yet. The infrastructure is there, the money is there to keep it alive for a while. The fact that you can't really embed things and upload things yourself outside of photos is probably holding it back a bit. News moves pretty fast there, but it's certainly working out fairly okay. The other side of it is like Mastodon has a barrier of entry and also has a preconceived opinion on the people that use it consistently, that it is not a social media platform that is welcoming to other people. Is that true? Is that false? It kind of unfortunately doesn't matter if that's true or not, because that is the reality that people have decided for themselves, is that that Mastodon is not a welcoming thing. I will say this. If you want to follow a lot of people and they're on different servers, the fact that you can only find so much of their previous posts, like a fundamental element of Mastodon, I think is bad. It's just a straight up poor choice that they made when working on it. I think like there's reasons for the implementation of that way, but I think it is poorly done. Threads, people are trying to make Threads a thing. I don't think it will be. I don't think it's going to catch on long term. I think short term it could move the needle for a few people, but I don't think long term it makes any sense to hitch your wagon to Threads. Because also I'm not convinced that Meta cares enough to make it better or continue to work on it, because they just put it out so early. Only social media I have is Instagram. I exclusively share pet videos. Yeah, I mean, that's totally reasonable, I think. So that's the thing, right? Um, a lot of all social media is like that. Sub. That's also Facebook. That's also Blue Sky. That's Hive when we were using that. That's on co-host as well. Instagram, all of that. Twitter was the big one, and a lot of people don't use it anymore, and they want it. Here's the thing, right? I talked about how Twitter was bad before. It was. It didn't work great. It was a mess to use. It was slow to respond to huge structural problems, but it worked well enough. Like it worked so well enough that like there are so many people that never had the fail whale, that never had a problem connecting it. That the day that it got weird, like a thing kind of stopped working right, and people who had verified accounts couldn't post, and it was like this whole weird thing. That was like a big day because that was unusual. It worked well enough that people were happy for it to exist. And then it's not that anymore. And people want to go back to it. They have nostalgia for when they followed some cool people and some interesting people, and they got news of the world, and they they miss like hearing about earthquakes in California when they don't live in California, because that's fun, or live tweeting special events and like having a good time talking shit about stuff. Like, that resonance, resonated with people. Or like some people liked Twitter because they could, anonymously yell at celebrities and brands, and they really liked doing that. And then people also advertise their business, like me, your friend Pat. I advertise my business on there. These streams are my business, my streaming business, and I certainly advertise there. I still do, because there is still an audience there, and my audience has not built up enough on other platforms to justify it. I wish it. Oh God, I wish it would. Oh, I wish it would. It would be so great if I didn't have to use Twitter anymore. But I do. I still have to use it to advertise stuff, and eventually I won't anymore. But right now I do, because it is still a place where people view stuff and find out about things. Yeah. Yeah, it's like people use social media. The thing is, I don't know if there is going to be a actual replacement for it, or if time has passed. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know for sure. I think it's a bummer that so many places like that there isn't a like easy ready-made replacement that people can get behind. I do think that's a shame, because it would be nice. I will say this. I don't hate Blue Sky. I think Blue Sky with like feeds that you can follow, which is fun. I get discoverability of some stuff. I think that's neat. People I like are on there, and I always appreciate that. I wish, one thing I do wish about it, beyond the fairly obvious to me anyway, like moderation stuff that needs to be actually like people's jobs, and they need to like take it very seriously, which they're not going to, because that is fundamentally not what they want to do, which sucks. But the real thing is like, I want to be able to schedule posts. I want to schedule my skeets, because I can't schedule them there, and that sucks. And I want to do that, because scheduling posts on Twitter is very convenient when I post like 3 times. So it's not the name of it. It's not the official thing. This is an early gag on Blue Sky, that posts are called skeets because it's blue sky and you skeet on blue sky. It's not official. It is the joke answer of what people call posts that I have stuck with, in the same way that, and it's not real on co-host, you chost on co-host. You see host on co-host if you want to post on there. You don't post, you chost, which is not real or true, but is funny to me. So that's all there is. Blue Sky needs some more features, like even bookmarks. Yes. There's a lot of quality of life stuff that would be nice to have on there. That I should say, as somebody that used to text on my dumb phone, I used to text tweets, like, Twitter wasn't there immediately. It's just that when you come in and you're trying to do something that is trying to do, you need to have some of those features, and that is unfortunate for people starting out. But people do have expectations when they didn't necessarily have it with Twitter, because Twitter was just like where you put in like what you're having for lunch and you complained it to the void on occasion, and then it was like, oh, you can post photos. Oh yeah, you can do that, and you can people used to link to their Instagram before Facebook bought Instagram. It's just like, it's where people linked things and talked about what they're into and had a pretty good time with it. But it eventually morphed into something else and got a lot of other shit added onto it, which happens. But luckily, there are plenty of alternatives, and one of them might stick. I don't know. Maybe they won't. I did want to talk a little bit in gaming, a little gaming news. Hey, I have a piece of good gaming news. It's so rare to have that because the industry is in a very rough shape. 2023 was bad, and 2024 is looking to be worse. Great games made by less and less people who have with steady work. But there is one thing that was cool to say. This is coming out of New Zealand, where Black Salt Games, the maker of Dredge, the indie studio, has donated $100,000 New Zealand dollars to the Whale and Dolphin Trust. This is the 1-year anniversary, and they've sold over 1 million copies of the game. And of course, did very well. It's overwhelmingly positive on Steam. But yeah, they are based in Christchurch, the Black Salt Games. $100,000 in New Zealand works out to be about $60,000 US, which doesn't have the same ring as 100,000, but is still a chunk of change for an indie studio. And that's just cool. That they were able to make that donation. That they're, it's a neat bit of business. Let's see. The grant will be used to support ongoing research and conservation efforts and locally. Protecting the environment and inhabitants is not just about preservation. It's about actively fighting climate change. We're proud that our success contribute to these crucial efforts. And one thing that I like this article is just like, we spoke to them last year, and they were very surprised that the game was doing as well as it did, which is like humbleness that I like. Yeah, people want their game to do well, but it seems like they were fairly realistic about this. They didn't expect a soaring success with Joel Mason, who is the story writer, said, I thought at this point I'd be calling up my mates and saying, hey, I'll give you $40 to go buy my game and go tell people about it. And I don't need to be doing that right now, he said last year. So last April, he was like, I didn't have to bribe my friends to buy the game and tell people about it. And it's like, yeah, well, that's probably good. But yeah, it's neat. It's neat that they are in a position where they're able to do that. And the game has done so well. Dredge seemed very cool. I watched a bunch of streams of it. And yeah, that game seemed real neat, and that is cool to be able to give back. They're in a position to be able to do that is very cool. But that was like a nice little bit of like news, a nice bit of gaming news in a whole time when it's not particularly great. Let's see. Looking at some news over on GameDeveloper.com. See if there's anything. You may remember that Toys for Bob, not just one toy, multiple Toys for Bob. That Toys for Bob was part of Microsoft and now isn't, and they've divested of it to become an indie publisher. Because they were part of Activision Blizzard, I should say. They were part of Activision Blizzard, and they left that. And then they were basically like, yeah, we're probably going to partner with Microsoft, which is just like, and some people were like, wait, why? You were owned by Microsoft. Now you're not. But it's like, yeah, but now that they can be like a small indie studio that then does contract work, and maybe they can be a support team. But also now they're not a Call of Duty support studio anymore, which seemed to be the big reason why they wanted to not be there, was so that they could do make video games and then have those video games appear on Microsoft platforms instead of working on Call of Duty stuff as a support studio. That seemed to be not what they wanted to do, and that's great for them. Let's see. Agreement was reached. Studios, this project will be similar to what it made in the past. And I think that might be all of there. We don't know if it's multi-platform. If, they're partnering with Microsoft, we don't know if it'll be an exclusive, or they're just like getting some seed money with the promise that it'll be on Game Pass. Like, we don't know. And they, of course, did have layoffs pre-split. They did deal with that. But yeah, that's also pretty good news, right? Honestly, if you were an independent studio and you are signing a deal with a publisher, that's apparently, unfortunately right now, pretty unique and cool that you are pulling that off, because it seems to be fairly fucking difficult right now. Yes, any non-layoff news is good news, right? Yeah. Like, even like, hey, yeah, we signed a deal. It's like, great. That sounds like your studio's not going to close. Awesome. Good on you. Let's see. There are a couple things that came out of GDC that are pretty interesting. The two things, there are some funds starting up. There are some funds happening, funds happening in Australia. Looks like Australia is going to be putting some money in as far as some grants for game development, which is great. It's always good when those things happen. And apparently, coming out of Japan, there is the SOFU program, which is targeting Japanese indie developers with product management support and game dev stuff and pitching, which is stuff that like would be great to have. Those are things that like, yeah, you have a game vision and you know an engine and you left a studio, but like maybe the business side of it, you definitely need some help with that. And this is from the Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry in Japan, which is making this program called SOFU. Create a new wind is the like literal translation. And so the thing that like, look, I am no expert, but a thing that is certainly I have been exposed to is that Japan, who is as a country financially not as great as they would like to be, has shown that they are willing to support arts because the arts, not just technology stuff, but the arts in general, not only is a boom for local economy, it also brings in international dollars. I have seen that in the other industry that I follow fairly closely, professional wrestling. Japan has, in part because it was so popular with people who are now old men in government and old women in government, grew up loving wrestling, so they are more inclined to understand it. Now there are younger people that are my age in local government who grew up with video games, and so they have a bit of a more understanding of how, like, oh yeah, if we could like support people starting out in those industries, just like we supported the animation industry, how we supported the manga industry, it could bring in more money to the country. Wrestling has had its own kind of thing. There are a lot of the larger wrestling organizations are now basically forming a larger body. They're going to collaborate. They're not combining or anything, but they're like recognizing that if they can help bring in other talent, bring in other eyes, all of that. And they're, the idea that indie developers could be getting help from their country is pretty cool. Hopefully it does help people out, and we get to start to see more indie games coming out of Japan that are full releases. Hey, I should say this. There has always been independent games coming out of Japan. A lot of the media that we consume on the nerdy Japanese side comes out of circles that were making games. Oftentimes they were making games, that they were, since the shareware days, for sure, there has been independent games, bought on CDRs and bought on like collections of discs and later downloaded on BBSs and all of that. Like, people were still doing that in Japan. It's just that there isn't like a culture of it beyond the really insular culture of it. And also, up until maybe even 15 years ago, you had to really fucking struggle to get those games. Those games, the games you would get out of the independent outside of Japan were games that became manga and anime and light novels that were based on those games, and then those games would eventually get like a re-release and get out there, but not even in every case. And also there's a stigma of believing that a lot of those independent games are related to, indirectly or directly related. Let's see, I'm just doing one whole leg. I start with that. Yes. Okay. So I did both feet here, and now I can do one leg. The belief that a lot of these Japanese independent games were tied to adult content, because a lot of them were. So it is also important to make sure to separate those things. To be eligible, individuals' teams must be Japanese nationality or have permanent residence in Japan. So that does include people that are moving to Japan to work on things that are expats, because that does also make sense to have some folks who are working on these things to be, got to be in Japan. They also need to have graduated high school by April 1st, 2024, and for unspecified reasons be younger than 35 years old. And that seems to be, in my opinion, if I can do a little contextualizing there, or conjecture, I should say, most likely it is the idea that they are not trying to encourage people who work for game developers already to leave those game developers. They are trying to encourage the next generation to at least give the idea of being independent a shot, or starting a little studio, instead of going from the school to getting an entry position pipeline. They are trying to give them at least a leg up if they are choosing to go an alternative route, which is cool. Under the program, recipients attend lectures on industry trends, get project management and production planning advice, and speak with industry veterans. And the industry veterans they're talking to are independent studio veterans. They're gonna, which is great, that are involved in it. And they also part of the program is presenting your projects to industry stakeholders, which is people that you're going to be pitching to, which is again unspecified. And apparently there is another version of that for independent film as well, which is running concurrently, and that's exciting. Game dev is especially independent game dev is like, when I talk to friends of mine who are in that world, people that I've met through various functions and the like, the networking part is so important. The advice and experience, the mentorship in the indie space, I think is like, from their own mouths, incredibly important. And especially because a lot of people that have been in that scene also have experience working we don't see it as much anymore, right? Some people that made pretty good waves in a sub company underneath EA took their money and opened a studio, right? Like, that still happens. It just doesn't happen as much. But those people are also really important to be able to have around and talk to, because they have experience on the other side. But also people that have been in the industry for a long time, like that are advocates for things, that do talks, that do mentorship. Like those are really important for people to have access to. And it is an industry that does seem to be open to that. So I don't know, it's good. These are good things. It is nice to see some good news here and there. Let's see, are there any other news stories? Looks like a bit of a slow news day here on GameDeveloper.com. Let's see. Let's go over to Polygon, and I got to filter through. Unfortunately, I don't have filters set up for Polygon, because there's always entertainment news, which is like some of their bread and butter and how they exist as a site, which I appreciate and understand. The traffic on a story about Vico Ortiz from Our Flag Means Death talking about Star Wars will get clicks and get eyes on their website. And I respect it, understand it, but that's not what I'm looking for in this context. In this context, I'm looking for news stories about video game stuff, because I want to talk about it. Let's see. Palia. It looks like Palia is coming to Steam, or is going. Are they finally going full? Palia. Palia. Is on Switch, and now you can download it on Steam, and they got a new patch for it. They're still not at 1.0, but a couple of my friends are real into it. It's somewhat in the brains of Stardew Valley, but seems very cozy. There's a lot to do in it. It seems neat. But yeah, now it's out on Steam. And there's a giant frog in the game now. Which is okay. There's a lot of decoration. So it's a friend of mine described it to me as, it is all the stuff about creating your cozy space and decorating from Animal Crossing, along with all of the building and farming and making things happen that you would see in a Stardew. And it's if that appeals to you, then that might be a game that's worth checking out. I broke my Stardew fix years ago. I have not been back. There was an update to Stardew, and it was that thing of I think of Stardew now like I think of World of Warcraft, where I loved my time with it, but I'm not willing to learn all the new shit, and all my mods will be broken anyway, so I don't know if I want to go in there. And I certainly don't want to go in there like clean. I need my mods. I need my quality of lives. But also, like, it's probably changed so much that I can't. And I have other things to be obsessed with that are not that. But for folks that are real amped for the patch that came out for Stardew, and they're drinking their mayonnaise, like, so happy for you. For people that are interested in this game, hell yeah, and I hope it's fucking rad as hell. It's just not necessarily for me. It's like, I used to joke, let me know when they added a card game, because I like digital card games. But that joke doesn't work anymore, because there have been plenty of games that are like, it also has a robust card game, and I'm like, still not enough. So I don't really make that joke much anymore, because I'm just like, I guess that actually doesn't move the needle for me anymore. It's neat when that happens, but it doesn't necessarily move the needle. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Oh. If you added Palia to your Steam wish list and then you buy the game, you get there's a giant frog that shows up in your game that people have been calling Frogbert, apparently. That's just fun. This is good shit. Let's see. Chris Plant was reporting on so Phil Spencer, like, he's basically just like kind of talking out loud, and of course he's at a position in his company where he doesn't talk out loud unless he's been thinking about things and there's been conversations, right? I'm curious to see what this Queen's Blood I hear so much about is, but not buying a PS5 curious. I hear you, Lashbrook. Sometimes it's just not. Sometimes you're like, well, I'll watch a video. I'll watch a YouTube video. Like, you get to that level. So Phil Spencer basically, like, he's talking about like the ally, the Lenovo Legion Go, Steam Deck, and he's just like, what if it was like an Xbox? I love that, because that is a big brain, like, broken brain company man thought, when he's like, I want my Lenovo Legion Go to feel like an Xbox, because of course he wants it to feel like the thing that he puts a lot of his time and energy and life into, because he's a company man. I bought that with me to GDC. I'm on the plane. I have a list of everything that makes it not feel like an Xbox. Forget about the brand. More like, are all my games there? Do all my games show up in the save files I want? I'll tell you one that doesn't right now. It's driving me crazy. Is Fallout 76. It doesn't have cross save. That sucks. If you're, it's like, yeah, dude, I hear you. Like, that's a logistic thing. Like, there is fucking plenty to say about Phil Spencer, but it is refreshing that he's just like, here's a feature on this thing that isn't there, and it sucks that it's not there. And like, yeah, dude, you're right. Like, it's all spin. This is all PR. It's all marketing. It's all of that stuff. Like, we have to be aware of that. This is not our cool friend Phil, right? But it is nice when someone at the top of a company is just like, I just want a game, man. This thing's making it hard for me to game the way I want to game. It's like, yeah, that's why that stuff works, because it is like, you're not wrong, Phil. I want to be able to boot into the Xbox app in a full screen, but in a compact mode, and all my social experience is there. Like, I want to feel like the dash of my Xbox when I turn on the television, but I want on those devices. And it's like, okay, yeah, I guess. So basically, he's not saying like, hey, we're definitely making a portable Xbox or a version of the Xbox on a portable device. He is saying, though, hey, I've got people who are working on stuff and seeing what's up. The hardware team is considering different hardware form factors and things like that could do. What should we build with new players? That will allow people to play at times where they couldn't play in the past. Just put Game Pass on Steam Deck. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, yes, that is a solution, Lashbrook. And I'm sure that they have done the math on that and found that that does not sell more Game Pass. Maybe they have. Maybe they haven't figured that part out yet. Maybe the math doesn't work for them because they are in the business of getting more people to have Game Pass. But who knows? Yeah, again, who knows where they're going with it and how they're going to get there. But it is interesting to just as a thought experiment. So they had, this is again, Polygon had a long interview with Phil Spencer, I believe at the end of GDC. Players may choose brands other than Xbox. For those players, Spencer wants to improve Xbox handheld gaming software experience, particularly for people who have devices running Windows, because they're Windows machines. There's always been talk of it. Like, it's not like Phil Spencer is revolutionizing the Xbox brand by thinking out loud, what if we had a handheld? Nintendo has always had it as their second or in sometimes primary money-making operation. Sony tried a couple times and it, to varying degrees of success, depending on who you talk to. Dirty just subscribed tier 1 for 55 months saying, just make Fallout 76 cross-play save. Well, yeah. I mean, yes, but that's not, yes. Also, thank you, Dirty. Appreciate that. Let's do the Bear Cave Lego site. Tier 2 blue emote in chat. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that they are, that they as a company have considered off and on. I mean, you can't look at the success of the Switch and then later look at the success of things like, even the Steam Deck and not see okay, there is a market for stuff like this, but how big of a market is it? And have people already, put their line in the sand of what they want? Also, I am not the first person to say this. The Windows experience on these devices is not great. And so Microsoft, not Xbox, because they are not the same thing. I don't care that Microsoft owns Xbox. Phil Spencer can't just immediately get them to make a Windows that works well on handheld devices like this natively. That's not something he gets to decide or push, because different divisions within that company don't care about one another. They never will. That's not how businesses work. Even if it would make sense and make money, businesses never give a shit about the other branches of their business. This is the wrong piece. I pulled the wrong piece out of here. I need this later. I'm going to put this aside. So I find that later. But yeah, that's just never going to be the thing. So things that usually frustrate me more Windows-based than device-based. See, I love that. Phil Spencer's just some of this stuff is just because it's Windows. It's just not optimized Windows. That's the thing that bothers me. I want to be able to log in with a controller. I've got lists of things that we should do. And it's I'm glad he's thinking about that stuff. As I said, it is important to say those things. Phil's not going to be able to get Game Pass to work natively on a Steam Deck because it's not a big enough use case for what benefits they get out of it. Yeah, but if they have their own device that it would natively run on Steam Deck, or not Steam Deck, Game Pass would natively run on it because it would be a Xbox portable. Because that would be business. It would be a whole segment of their business would be that. And so it would be a bit of a different story. And I think approaching it from a console perspective, instead of approaching it from a, Windows perspective, is probably the way to go. It's probably the way to do it. We are going to use our first, friends. This is our first effects part. We got 2 different colors effects parts here. We're doing the pink on this, and then eventually we can swap over to the blue. Not all of it is blue. Not But yeah, we got 2 different colors here. We're going to put our first one on, which is J8. And because this is colored clear, sometimes it is hard for me to see the numbers. But I know that's what this is. But yeah. As always, it is somewhat, it does always feel refreshing with Phil Spencer, where he's just like, also like in that article, in that interview, he's just like, I don't know, hardware and software should go hand in hand. Look at the Wii. Like, that's just, he's like, that's technology, on both sides. And it's just like, yeah, that is a reasonable thing to say. Phil Spencer, like, yeah, it is, that is how that worked. All right. All right, so we're going to put that on there, and then we're going to put this on here. Oh, yeah, again, we have our first effects part right on there, which is great. And we will continue to work on that in a moment or two. Because now is the part of the stream where I'm going to talk to you about ways that you can support what I do here. Everything I'm about to tell you right now is optional. None of this is stuff that you've got to do. If you would like to do it, you're more than welcome to. If you are a subscriber, you can throw the barricade, the Lego of the site, the tier 2 blue emote in the chat right now. Being a subscriber is the easiest way to support what I do here through Cash Money or your Prime Gaming token. Those are 2 ways to support me. You can also gift a sub like Firestar Man and Aristophan and Giant Frying Pan did. That's another way. You could be like Dirty, who resubbed, which is always nice. To make sure if you are hitting the resub button that you let me know. And then, of course, you could do a little bit of cheer like Harold and Giant Frying Pan did as well. Bits and coins always appreciated. But yeah, we're currently at 45 subscribers. The goal is to get to 50. I shut up at 50. If you would like to jump in and be a subscriber, you could do that. You could do that. But there are other ways to support what I do here. And again, I'll get through these quick and then we'll get back to building. I have a Patreon at patreon.com/PatBear. There is a $1, $3, $5, and $10 tier. There are different rewards for the different tiers. Consider joining me on Patreon. It's a good place to jump in there to give me a little bit of assistance if you like. At least go take a look at it. See if it's right for you. I have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/PatBear. Subscribing to my YouTube channel is free. Please consider subscribing. I post videos there all the time. Over on my YouTube, of course, you can be a member. And for $2 a month, you get my Wednesday videos a day early. So you will find out the next show that I am talking about in my ongoing weekly series, Kuma Baer, tomorrow, instead of having to wait until Wednesday. If you want to do that, you could do that. Those are all monthly ways to support me. You could also do a one-time donation through my Ko-fi or my PayPal directly. And everything I make through direct donations, through YouTube, which includes AdSense, so watching my videos helps me out, through Patreon, through Twitch, all goes into a fund. And out of that fund, I buy model kits. This kit right now that I'm building at this very moment, the Star Build Strike Gundam Plavsky Wing High Grade. I was able to purchase this because of your past generosity, had the funds to do it. I will be buying more kits. I've got a backlog of stuff that I'm happy to build from, of some cool shit, a bunch of different kinds of model kits and Lego sets and such. But, if you ever thought, Pat, those things are neat, but what if I got to decide what you build next? Well, you can do that. If you go to my Amazon wish list and buy something there, it'll jump the queue. I'll make a dedicated YouTube video about the thing that you purchased. And then also, It'll be the next thing that I build. As I said, I'll jump the queue. I got Lego sets. I got model kits. I got inexpensive kits. I got expensive kits. I recently added a few new kits in there because it's nice to have a bunch of different options and a bunch of different things and things. I just recently added the Dreadnought Gundam, the X-Stray, because I've never built that. I just never built that kit, so I've added it to the wish list. But yeah, I got Lego sets, model kits, inexpensive stuff, expensive stuff, stuff that never goes on sale, stuff that is constantly on sale, some new kits, some old kits, some gear at the bottom if you want to support me financially that way and help me out by picking up some gear. That would be great. But yeah, if you see something there you'd like to see me build, you can buy that. Obviously, again, like all this other stuff, optional. But if you wanted to, you could. And my alternative to Amazon is I have a wish list on Throne, which has far fewer model kits, but is like, a nice little alternative to that if you want to help me out and you don't want to go through Amazon, which I understand. And then the most convoluted way to support me is to go to USA Gundam Store, buy a gift card at USA Gundam Store. They'll send you a code with the gift card. Then you send me that code in a DM or a whisper, either a DM on Twitter or a whisper here on Twitch. I don't know why those words came out weird, but they did. And that is another way to support me, and it's the weirdest way to do it. If you want to support me and not spend any money, I have a Discord. You're more than welcome to come hang out in the Discord. I post build photos at the end of every stream. People post stuff they're working on. It's a great place, and you're welcome to come hang out there. Pat Bear's Anime Club. The most recent episode of Pat Bear's Anime Club is, of course, about good live-action adaptations of anime that are available for streaming or purchase easily. I had those caveats, so I couldn't just include a bunch of stuff that you can't find any more readily. And then, so check that video out if you haven't already. Kuma Baer is my ongoing video series where every week I make a short. So I'm trying to do, short form content here where I'm trying to encourage you to watch an anime series that I love. And this video is about the 2020 anime Keep Your Hands Off Isaacin, which is one of my favorite series. It was my favorite show that year. It is gorgeous. It's one of Science Saru's best. Visually stunning, a fantastic story. The minor characters get such a wonderful development. Everybody gets a chance to shine. It is just such a great series. You should check out Kuma Baer. You should check out Kuma Baer video where I talk about Keep Your Hands Off Isaacin, and then watch that. Also, my next Pat Bear's Anime Club is tomorrow. It's a recording of it. It'll go up next Monday, but if you want to be there for the recording tomorrow at well, I'll show this screen right now so we can do, let's see, where is it? There it is. Pat Bear's Anime Club, episode 120. I've almost made 120 of these. That's wild. The winter wrap-up spring preview is tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. That is me talking about the winter anime season that just is wrapping up right now, and then previewing the spring season, which is starting in April. So check out that video. Check out that live recording tomorrow if you've been watching stuff. If you haven't, at the very least, you get to hear about some stuff that I've watched or why I haven't watched it, and then we get to talk about some stuff, and you're just like, wait, that's a fucking anime? Yikes. Or cool. In looking at next season, I think there's only like one show that I was like, ugh. And a few that I'm like, I don't know why this got made. Why are they making this anime? But whatever. That's not my call. I don't get to make those decisions. What else? Okay. So I have a manga to talk to you about. I have some anime to talk about because I had some final episodes of a couple shows. We're going to start by talking about the manga, and then we'll jump to the anime. But before I can get into all this, I have to drink some water, and we have to dramatically transition back to the overhead camera so that I can continue working on this leg for this model kit. And we'll do that right now. All right. So let's talk about behind the battle of the hero and the demon king. um, which is a manga that I have been reading off and on. I'm a little behind on it, but I've been, keeping up with it. Um, what's up? So it's an isekai. It is a someone has been born as a child in a fantasy world, and specifically, it is an isekai based on a video game. A guy that played the game is now in this game world. And the demons are going to invade. The Demon King is out there. There's a hero. It's that kind of classic story. Our guy is not the hero. He is a guy that dies in the first battle when a lot of people underestimate the monsters that are going to appear. It's basically the prologue. He dies in the prologue. The game, the anime, or manga, I should say, the story starts before the prologue. And our dude is like, well, I'd like to survive. That's his main thing. He'd like to survive, and he has knowledge of the game world. He knows how to level up, and he knows how to strengthen himself. And originally, before he got to a school, because he is a noble, so he has to go to school. He's like, a noble that was not important to the grand scheme of things, but he's enough of a noble that he has to go attend school. That he realizes, oh, I actually have to help. Like originally he was like, I want to lay low. I want to get strong enough to survive. But as he grows and this is his new family and there are people there and there are people that depend on him and depend on his family. He's like, okay, I guess I probably do need to figure out. Sorry, I gotta fix this here. He's like, oh, I guess I do need to figure out how would I survive in this world and how would I get stronger. And then also he has a run-in with the hero. The hero gets into some trouble, and our guy kind of realizes, oh, okay, well, I gotta help this guy out. This is the thing that didn't happen in the game, but that doesn't mean it won't happen in this world because things are progressing in various different ways. So he's like, okay, I kind of gotta help out here. And then it turns out actually he and the hero are now friends. They get on friendly terms. Which is great because it allows him to get stronger. He's able to advise his friend. And then the battle happens. And there's a hierarchy and all kinds of stuff. And it's a brutal fight where our dude's strategies work. He's kind of explains oh, well, our dealing with monsters and I'm having a sixth sense about some of these things. People believe him. People listen to him and believe him when he says some of this seems weird. Some of this seems out of the ordinary. I think this battle is going to be harder than we initially anticipated. Because of course he's right about that. It's going to be harder. Because there are more monsters than they would have anticipated because the Demon Lord or the Demon King is reviving or whatever. And so characters that eventually would become great allies to the hero are starting to feel that way, but also are really interested in our guy, our main character. That they start to understand that oh, this young guy, he's got ideas and he's got he's starting to see things that other people don't really see. He's got a great mind for the military. He just knows the plot of the game and he knows strategies in the game, but it's still really beneficial. And also he's best friends with the hero. And that could only be good. So he starts getting involved with some other political stuff. There are people that want to be around him because they admire him. And there are also people that want to get around him because of his influence. So he has to deal with that. And he's trying to not get stuck with anything. And the action, I think, is well drawn. I think the story is basic. it's not doing anything out of the ordinary in these kinds of, oh, I played this video game. Like, even the idea that, like, oh, this is not the hero. He has some abilities, but he's mostly just like trying his best to adapt with whatever knowledge he has. That used to be kind of unique, and it's not unique anymore. I still think it's cool, but it's not like, it doesn't have that anymore, where like these kinds of stories used to be able to be like, oh, that's interesting. Like the character with no powers that just has his wits and his game knowledge. Like, that shit, is it tired? It's not tired, but it's not new. But I do think it's a good one of those. If my description isn't at all interesting to you, I would say seek out Behind the Battle of the Hero and the Demon King, because it's a good one of those. But it's not doing something that I would like tell people who are never going to be interested in this kind of manga. Like, you don't seek it out. This is not going to change your mind about the genre. It's just good, and I think you would like it if you like that sort of thing. It's, as I said, it's a good one of those. Now, moving on to the anime, we have episode 12 of 12 of The Unwanted Undead Adventurer and episode 12 of 12 of The Strongest Tanks Labyrinth Raids. We will talk about the last episodes of both those shows. I meant to also, I've only watched one episode of Sandland. I will be talking about Sandland this coming weekend, because I have no new shows to talk about this coming weekend. So I will talk about that as we are in the transition. We are in that period where I'm just catching up on stuff. So like Sandland's on my list. I want to get caught up on Brazen. I want to get caught up on Weakest Tamer. I am caught up on The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic. There's one more episode. That got 13 episodes, and I was surprised about that. But I can tell you about the 12th episode of The Unwanted Undead Adventurer. Because we're getting a bit of a flashback in this episode. Again, if you haven't been keeping up with the show, Sandland is Hulu, right? Yes, I'm 99%. Yes, Sandland is on Hulu. Because I have a Hulu account, or I have access to a Hulu account to watch it. So yeah, Sandland is on Hulu. Because they put out just a bunch of episodes on there, which is cool. And then, various other things on various other platforms. Okay, so Rent, our guy who died, who became a ghoul, who has evolved as a ghoul, has the opportunity to become some sort of vampire if he drinks this vampire blood. And he could be just this version of a ghoul that he is right now, where he can talk and communicate. And the woman that loves him, Lorraine, would be happy with that. And he could be happy with that. But they both know he can't progress to being a mithril class. Like, he's got to become stronger, and he's got to be able to communicate and talk and get by in the Adventurers Guild. And he can't do that as he is now, because he one day wants to become a mithril class adventurer. And she's like, okay, you have to tell me why. Why is it so important to you? And so we get a flashback. Cool flashback. It's episode 12 for this flashback, but sure, why not? As a child, he had a friend named Jinlin who wanted to be an adventurer and see the world. And they were childhood friends in this tiny little remote village. She wanted to be an adventurer, and he was just like a shy dude. Like, nah. The village gets attacked by a wolf monster, a huge wolf monster, and his parents and and her grandmother are killed. Like, a bunch of people get killed, including their guardians. She died protecting him when they were attacked by the wolf. And then a mithril class adventurer named Wilfred just happened to be there, and helped Rent out. And he decided that he was going to become an adventurer someday to honor her, to fulfill her dream. Because, you know, that was the thing that she wanted to do. So he was going to do that in her place since she could not. And he's wanted to become a mithril rank because the world of mithril ranked adventurers is like a totally different world. And if he was in that world, he'd be able to find the guy that saved his life and show him how much he's strong. But he wouldn't be able to find him otherwise. So that's the motivating thing. So she's like, okay, yeah, then you got to do this. So he drinks the vampire blood, and it's very painful. It takes a long time for it to work, and it's like kind of gross. Meanwhile, the blacksmith Clope is working on a better sword for Rhett. Lillian at the orphanage is starting to recover after she got the medicine. We started just like seeing what's going on here. Reese and Laura, who we've seen before, form a party with a novice sword woman. It's Rena from the beginning of the show. Rena, the girl that was having trouble and got saved and brought Rent out of the labyrinth. Like, yeah, a character that I didn't forget about, but when she showed up, I was like, wait, oh yeah. So yeah, various characters that we've seen in the show coincidentally start working together. And Rent finally awakens with a human appearance. He's still wearing the mask. The mask is still stuck to him. He can't remove it, but he does have a much more human-like appearance, and the mask can still morph, so he can still eat with it. And he looks like himself. But they're also not sure. He's definitely a vampire now, but they're not quite sure what kind of vampire he is. Lorraine is happy to see his face, and Rent is like, all right, I can now start figuring out how to become a mithril class adventurer. My goal is to find this dude. I have heard that he has left the country, and also I'm not mithril class yet. Lorraine decides that if Rhett does leave, she's going to go with him and travel with him, and that's how we end the anime, with the idea that like this pair is sticking together. The adventure continues. We're going to see growth and change and more like little one-shots that lead to bigger things. Do I think we're going to get more of this anime? Probably not. I don't think this particularly did super well. I think it's a good adaptation. I think it looked really nice. I really like the manga. I've been reading that manga for a while. It goes way past where we are here in the anime. So it did not get caught up to it. So there is more material they could do if they wanted to. And it gets kind of heady. Like, it goes places with the plot and with, like, the history of some of the characters. It gets kind of fucking wild. Like, there's a whole thing about, like, that ancient monster woman that he ran into in the labyrinth. Like, there's more with that stuff. Like, there's a bunch of other mysteries in there to discover. There's a vampire hunter who seems pretty nice, except for wanting to kill vampires. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff in this series, or in the manga, that I would love to see in the animated, but I don't think I'm going to be able to see a season 2 of the show, because I don't think it did well enough. But I think it's pretty cool. And if you're trying to get caught up on some stuff, maybe check out the Unwanted Undead Adventurer. I will not be able to... Okay, so I'll say this. Next month, I'm going to talk about 4 shows on Kuma Baer, because I have a theme every month. All the April videos are going to be shows from the winter season that I really liked. But I'm afraid that Unwanted Undead Adventurer, like, people aren't going to be able to see it. I might still do it. I haven't decided yet if it's going to end up in my, like, making the cut. It's in the conversation, but, like, I don't know if putting Undead in there means that no one's going to see it on any social media platform, which sucks. But I still might do it. I haven't quite decided yet. But like, I'm going to talk about solo leveling because it's great. I'm going to talk about, I might talk about the wrong way to use healing magic. So that's actually really interesting. I'm definitely going to, tell people they should be watching some shows. I also won't talk about Frieren because I've already talked about Frieren this year as one of my favorite shows from last year. So I won't be making that proclamation. Although, second half of Frieren, one of the best shows of the winter season, y'all. One of the shows that I also won't be talking about next month, but I will talk about now, episode 12 of 12 of The Strongest Tanks Labyrinth Raids. Because it's a good one of those. It's one of the banished/kicked subgenres that I like a lot of. There's some next season I'm interested in as well. This one is not an isekai. Sometimes they are. This one just happens to not be one. But it continues to be one of those series about a guy who people didn't quite understand, and turns out that he's pretty great, and people fucked up by not acknowledging that. There are demon lords out there, and there's a nearby one of the great big demon lords named Greed, Demon King Greed. He shows up. He's the only one in this dungeon because all he wants to do is fight Rudd and his party. Greed identifies immediately that two people in the party are homunculi. Like, he immediately knows, and that also means that he is now blowing up Luna's spot because people didn't know that she was homunculi. She was keeping it a secret. Now the whole party knows. It shouldn't be a big deal, but it still sucks. Like, hey, dude, let her tell people. Rudd notices that the other homunculi that they saved is taking a lot of risks because she believes that she's expendable. And so he's like, you don't get to fight anymore. Like, you are not expendable. You can't take these risks. Like, no thanks. You're part of the team. So Greed is defeated really quickly, like almost instantly. And Rudd is like, that doesn't seem right. But then he's like, oh, wait, no, that was a homunculi. Oh, no, it was another homunculus. It was a copy of Greed. And then Greed's behind him and instantly defeated the twins. Because, of course, this dude has been sharing technology and how to make homunculi. Of course, he could make them himself. There's more fighting. Let's see. Rudd gets injured, which means he can't. His shield doesn't work right, and so he can't protect people, and everyone's kind of getting taken out. And Luna, hey, our homunculus, the original homunculus friend, is about to die. Luna is about to die. And then we know that since Rudd started taking over some labyrinths, he's like whispers, like the darkness, there's some kind of mystical thing inside of him has been like whispering to him. In order to save her life, he gives into that. He gives into that voice, and he goes into a rage, and he's really strong. And then he just starts beating the shit out of Greed, and he has won, and he is beating the shit out of it. And then Nin, who is the love interest and the healer, is trying to like snap him out of it, and he is totally out of control. And then she slaps him in the face, and that's enough for him to like pull back and reel enough that he can gain control again. Greed takes advantage of that. And he's like, I'm the only monster here because my whole army is ready to take over your town and destroy it. Everyone in your town is going to die. Take a look at this. And he shows them like projections of what's going to happen. Like, he's like taunting them, and he wants to watch them all to watch what happens, which is a complete and utter mistake. It's top 10 anime goofs. Like, oh, dude, you just spelled your own doom because you don't realize what Rudd's power is. So, being able to see them means that Rudd can extend his shield abilities to the entire army that is defending the town, which also means that his strength, like he's defending them, protecting them, but also he can then convert the damage that they would have been dealt into attack, which is his whole thing. And so he just hits Greed so hard that Greed gets blown out of the labyrinth in what I'll admit was one of the best animated scenes of this like kind of mediocre animation wise mediocre show. This scene fucking whips ass. He just like hits him so fucking hard. He hits him for like 1,000,000 damage. Just dude goes flying, and it's a pretty great scene. It's pretty fucking rad. And he gets defeated. He defeats Greed and he defeats the labyrinth. And the group go to the town basically are just like, hey, Rudd is the strongest tank in history. Because it's the strongest tank's labyrinth raids. And that's it. His sister still needs medicine in order to fully cure her. He still hasn't figured out what it means to be in a relationship. There's still a neighboring kingdom doing experiments. That's a nightmare. There's still like a ton of stuff that they have to deal with. The manga does not have an official U.S. release, so I have not read the manga. The anime went way past where I've read because it just hasn't been adapted more. I would love to read more about it. I don't think I'm going to get to. And yeah, do I think you gotta read or watch The Strongest Tank's Labyrinth Raids? No. If this show was not on a Sunday, Monday, I would have I wouldn't have been watching it. Like I needed something to cover for today. I like it well enough. It would have taken a backseat to other stuff probably. I enjoyed it quite a bit in the moment. But it just isn't like, it's fine. It is a perfectly acceptable, perfectly fine anime, like totally skippable, totally missable. Animation, like I said, at least the animation was solid and pretty consistent throughout, but it stuck the landing. I thought the ending was fine. I would like to know if the Greed fight is longer and they had to like make it shorter for the anime. I don't know. It would be interesting to know that, but that's not something that I have access to. Maybe it will get an official release and it'll be collected and I'll be able to pick up the volumes and read it. Because I wouldn't mind, even though I've obviously watched the anime. I wouldn't mind checking that out. I need H24. So we'll do that now. And that's the manga that one of the manga I've been reading. I read a lot of manga and I read a lot of manhwa, but I only talk about it once at a time. But next Monday I'll probably talk about a lot more as I wait for more anime to come out, new anime to come out. So Manga Monday next week might be a little bit more involved as I will have more time to talk about some manga and less anime to watch. And I think this Thursday is finishing up the 2 villainous shows. And then this Saturday, I'll talk about the stuff that like I wasn't watching or I wasn't talking about weekly. But I'm still been into. And now is the part of the stream, friends, where I want to hear from you. What are you watching right now? What are you playing? What are you, you playing any games? You watching any TV? You watching any anime? You picking up? You trying to get caught up on some stuff? You watching college basketball? Like what's going on with y'all? What are you up to and into? I always like hearing from you about that stuff. You know me and my interest in knowing what's going on with people and what they're playing. So yeah, let me know if you got anything going on there. I'll tell you for me, Hearthstone. I have a new deck that I'm really enjoying. I revamped my standard Paladin, big Paladin deck. So I would call it new because I've kind of changed like a ton of cards in it. It doesn't feel like the deck that I played the other week when I streamed it. Um, it's got a lot more going on with it. I guess that was last Tuesday that I streamed it. So I've made some changes with that deck that I'm happy with. I'm still always looking for new decks. There is a legendary I want to craft because there's a combo I want to do with it. So I gotta save up. There's a druid deck where you can put in minions that cost 1 in your deck and then draw with it, but you're also have other win conditions, like you're just constantly building like your hero power up. It's a hero power druid deck that seemed really fun, but it requires like a couple legendaries I don't have, and I need gold in order to get that, or dust, I should say, to craft it, or maybe I'll appear in a pack, but more likely I need to buy packs to then dust those packs to then craft the legendary that I want. And so that's my next, like, this is a thing I'd like to do in this game. So I have the deck saved, and now I just need to get enough gold to make it happen, because it seemed fun. And I don't play enough druid these days, so I'm looking at that. Helldivers 2. I played a bunch of Helldivers 2 yesterday. Had a really good time with that with some friends. We hadn't played in a couple days, and people were getting the itch. So we got some games in yesterday. I still really like that. That's still like whenever I can. I got a text message from a couple of people in the crew. Like, usually it's in our Discord, our multiplayer, Discord. But they were basically like, hey, are you definitely streaming tonight? Because we want a 4th. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm streaming. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no. They know my schedule, but I don't mind that they asked, even though I'm definitely doing this and not doing that. Like, I don't mind that. If they wanted to make sure that I was not going to be available to play. They might still be playing, because at least one of them, or two of them that wanted to play are West Coast. So when I get off here, I might end up playing Helldivers 2. I don't know. And then I think that's it. I haven't checked in with WWE 2K24. Most likely I'll be playing that next week. Or by play, I mean running CPU versus CPU matches. I believe that's what I'm going to do next week. And so I haven't been in there a few days. I did download some CPUs. So calls, I should say, Creator Wrestlers. So I do have a few new ones of those, but I do need to like go in deep and really like figure out what I want to do there. I want to get a few more custom stages as well. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Also, I got to figure out how to do outdoor ambulance matches, because I don't want to do one, because I don't think I ever want to do another ambulance match in the game, because it wasn't fun. But I would like to see how that works. Lastbrick says, watched The Crow in theater Sunday, and that movie still rules, but also cheesier than I remember. Like, dude has a lot of one-liners. Yes, The Crow is cheesy. You were just young when it came out, but it is a bit of a cheesy endeavor. It's still a good movie. Watched 89 Batman today, and honestly, I don't think it holds up. So, yeah, I mean, like, I still really like it. I will say this. When I watched Batman and Batman Returns, I was not super well-versed. When I first watched it, I was not super well-versed in Tim Burton. I hadn't seen Tim Burton movies. I think I'd seen Beetlejuice, but I don't even know. I don't believe I was like well-versed in what he was up to and what he was into. So it wasn't until I watched those movies again that I was like, oh shit, Tim Burton, these are some Tim Burton-esque movies. You know what it was? I had seen Pee-wee. That's the only Tim Burton movie I had seen when I first watched Batman and Batman Returns. So I totally understand you maybe not thinking it holds up. I think both those movies are great. I think that Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne is so great. I love his like kind of antisocial, weirdo, just like kind of everyman guy. I think his Batman is fine. I think there have been better Batman since, but I think his Bruce Wayne is one of the best, if not the best, and it's like a really fun performance. But I can understand you think it doesn't hold up. Last time I watched them was a while ago, but I had a really good time with those when I did watch them. So yeah. Still working on Bojack's Ghost Valve. Hi, Ghost Valve. Also did Commander Night, a bit of a rough night. Sorry to hear that. Sometimes the cards just aren't in your favor, you know, or sometimes people just run decks that your deck doesn't work well against. Been trying Lightyear Frontier, but got stuck pretty early on. Haven't been able to play any squad games. Sorry to hear that. Lord Crash says, after getting my first win in Balatro, I got 2 more quickly as I'm trying to beat all of the main decks before trying out the new decks. I hear you, Lord Crashington. Good luck to you. I will go back to that game at some point. I don't know when that is. I don't know when some point is. But I will someday go back to that game. It just infuriated me too much. I just burned out on it. But I would like to try it again someday. And then Lord Crash says, I've also been playing more MLB The Show 24 as I've made Peggy Hill in the career mode as a starting pitcher. Excellent. You know what? Hell yeah. And sure, Lord Crashington, that is a way to play it. Again, tomorrow I'm going to be talking about anime, so I've been trying to get caught up on some stuff. That was a lot of my weekend was getting caught up on things, and getting ready to be able to discuss those on stream. Aristophan says, I finished playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Oh, nice. And I'm going to miss hanging out with those dorks. Dragon's Dogma 2 is next on my pile. Also, I'm playing Hearthstone again. Aristophan, welcome back, and I'm sorry. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good time in Hearthstone. It's a pretty good time to be playing Hearthstone if you like Hearthstone. I think the meta is still a week in, and I think people are still trying to fucking figure out what the meta is, which is awesome. That is always a good sign when there's a couple wild decks that I think, weirdly enough, friends, when you make Pirate Rogue better in Standard, it makes it better in Wild. And I don't want to fight against Pirate Rogue unless I'm playing a control deck, and I rarely play control decks in Wild. So both my control decks in Standard can deal with that Pirate Rogue, but they're not really playing that Pirate Rogue in Standard. They're playing it in Wild. And so I don't have really a great way to deal with that unless I want to play decks that I don't really want to play. I want to play scam decks, and I need people to play slower decks to give me time to get my scams going. But yeah, I'm getting caught up on anime. This week I'll finish Wrong Way to be a healer, which was surprisingly really good. I don't know if I'm going to finish Weakest Tamer because it's such a fucking bummer. Like, that's the whole thing. It's a bummer. It is not a wish fulfillment, power fantasy, reincarnation, isekai. It is like this girl is just had it rough. She's not tragic. It's just she's having a rough fucking go of it. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch that. Let's finish that. I think I have a couple more episodes to go. And I just think I'm like, I knew I wasn't going to be super into it because I'm not super into the manga. But I was like, I should give it a try. I don't know. There's a few other shows that I'm... Cherry Magic, I'm going to try to get caught up for tomorrow. I'm already going to recommend it because it's really fun. But I wouldn't mind getting a little bit more of that done. There's some stuff that I just like Sandland. Haven't watched it yet. I have the Hulu access to that. I don't have Netflix right now, so I have not seen Delicious in Dungeon since I watched the first 2 episodes when I still had Netflix before it ran out. I let it lapse, and I have not gotten Netflix again to finish it, or get caught up, I should say, because it's still going. And that's going to be the show that, like, I know that's the show that, like, when I talk about like, my favorite shows this season, people are going to be like, well, what about Dungeon Meshi? And I'll be like, yeah, I'm not super into Dungeon Meshi. Like, I'm just not. Like, I wasn't in manga form. Like, I eventually stopped reading it and then went back to it after a while. But, like, I don't know why. It's just me. I just don't enjoy it. It doesn't do it for me. And I wish it did, because I know people really love that show. But I don't know. Couldn't make myself like it. Or couldn't make myself love it, I should say. I liked it just fine. I just couldn't love it. I don't know. It happens. As always, I watch a bunch of stuff that nobody's fucking watching. Like, I don't know. None of my friends who watch a lot of anime are watching Villainous Level 99. And, like, I wish they were. Because it's such an interesting idea to have the main character in your... I'm the villain from the video game. I played the video game. Also, I'm neurodivergent. It's like, it becomes such an interesting twist on it. It's not a twist. It's just a part of the character. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, that explains so much. And again, that's subtext. That's not text. There's no conversation about her. It's just like so obvious from her misunderstanding of social cues and her weird, like, her logical brain that makes a lot of sense in some ways, but then makes leaps that make no sense, but make sense to her, and her, and how that, like, there's no differentiation in her between, like, this is how things work, and oh yeah, of course people would be responding this way and worried about me. She's like, why would anyone be worried about me? I'm very strong. Like, they shouldn't worry about me. It's like, no, they worry about you because they care about you. And, like, that takes a while. Like, it took 8 episodes for her to understand that the guy that she spent a lot of those 8 episodes unsure if they were friends. And he's like, no, we're definitely friends. Like, what? What are you talking about? We are friends. And she's just like, oh, okay. All right, good. And she was like, yeah. It's like, no, he's in love with you. Come on, girl. It is it's a good show that I don't think, like, I don't know if we're going to get more of it. And that's a shame. I mean, my only complaint is that they do a piss poor job animating the dragon, Ryu. The dragon, unfortunately, is very bad looking CGI that, like, doesn't fit with the rest of the show and doesn't look good. And it consistently bums me out when I see it. Because I'm like, you were doing so well up until the point where you weren't doing well at all. We are almost body complete on this kit. We do have to do the side skirts. We're going to do the... we are going to get body complete on this. And we just won't do the side skirts. And then we have the stand that it comes with. And then we have all the weapons. So we are going to finish this kit on Thursday. And I will run a poll possibly tomorrow. Definitely, if not tomorrow, on Wednesday, I will run a poll. And that poll will let us know what I'm going to be working on next. Because... there are weapons. Like, there's a bunch of weapons, and there's also, like, we got to build, like, a flyer here, like the cockpit thing. So there is more to build, and a shield, and I think we can build all that on Thursday. Like I said, there is more to do with it. So it's not necessary, like, we won't 100% definitely finish it. But I think there's a very good chance that we will finish this kit up on Thursday's stream. And so I do need to know what I need to build next. And if it takes the whole stream to do, that's fine by me. I don't mind that. But it is nice to get body complete, or at least very close to it. And our last bit of blue on this kit. There's not a lot of blue on here. I wish that this was plastic and not a sticker. I think that the blue plastic looks good and the stickers look bad, and I can't make those look better, unfortunately. So I wish that the knees had a sticker on them, or were plastic and not a sticker, because I think it would look better. But unfortunately, that's where we're at. And this is gonna go like that. Then we set the panel on it. We'll move on. But yeah, my week ahead is trying to get some stuff done here, trying to get a few projects done. I am trying to clear my schedule for next week because I will be watching so much goddamn wrestling outside of streams here. Basically, all I'm going to do is watch wrestling and stream. And, I'm still going to work here and there. And I'll also probably be working while watching wrestling. But next week is WrestleMania week. So not only do you have WrestleMania, no stream. I will stream this Saturday. The following Saturday, no stream. I'm going to watch WrestleMania because I like to watch that. I'm going to try not to take Saturdays off for one-night wrestling shows. But big shows like that, I'm still going to do. Like if SummerSlam is on a Saturday, then I won't watch SummerSlam like live, whatever. But I want to watch night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania as they happen, so I'll be doing that. What else was I going to say? I don't know. I don't know what else. Oh, but beyond, the WrestleMania-ness of it, it's also just like a week and weekend where a lot of other promotions are running stuff. So like Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling and Stardom Wrestling are coming from Japan. DDT is coming from Japan. There's a bunch of great shows from all over the place running. GCW is having a show with Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. They're having a show with DDT. Effie's probably doing at least his last for a while, if not his very last, Big Gay Brunch, which is a fantastic show. There's For the Culture, which is also fantastic. There's all kinds of cool wrestling events. I have a schedule of what I'm watching, and it's too much. It's too many shows. And some of those shows, like, I'm not even going to watch live. And I don't know when I'm going to watch them. So it's like, I don't even fucking know when I'm going to see some of this shit. Like, I just have no idea. Like, I don't know when I'm going to watch the Ring of Honor show. I will at some point. I just don't know when that's going to be. Because it's going to be on during the SmackDown before WrestleMania. And I want to see that. Because I want to see if any matches get changed or anything happens in that. All right, we're body complete, everybody. We did it. The side skirts need to get built, but whatever. We're going to call that body complete. And we still have to build the shield, which is the last of the stickers. And the weapons need to get built. And then also we need to build the core fighter thing. That needs to get done. So we still have more to do with this kit, but we have gotten, we got it body complete. And it's looking pretty fucking good. So that's going to do it for me, but we're not really done here, right? Because we still need to go and hang out with other people. We still need to go on a raid because that is how we end every stream around here. We always end with a raid. We're going to find some people doing some cool shit and go give them some love and hang out with them. So we'll get ready to do that now. It is Monday. Is Mary streaming? Is it Merry Monday? It is. It's Merry Monday, and Mary Kish is playing Stardew Valley. We just talked about that. So yeah, we're going to go hang out with Mary Kish, who is playing Stardew, and I'm sure having a great time. And I hope you had a great time tonight for this silliness. But yeah, feel free to join me on this raid. I would love it if you did. Mary's good people, and it's going to be a good time. Tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern, I'll be back here, and it will be great. I will be talking for many hours about anime. These streams are like 2.5 hours long of me just talking the whole damn time. And I would love to have you in chat if you watched 10 shows this season. If you didn't watch any, if you just want to watch the second half where I talk all about the shows that are coming out next season, and you get the jumpstart ahead and you go like, oh wait, there's a new Laid Back Camp season? Fuck yeah. Then you should come check that out. But thanks so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, 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 goodbye.